Hey everybody, this is Renae from The Space Between, and you are listening to The Space Between podcast, the show that lets you listen to how the fans feel about the music, the art behind over 30 years of the Dave Matthews Band. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. The Dave Matthews Band is celebrating 33 years of music in 2024. And with 33 years of music, they have accumulated thousands of fans who are still listening to their music, whether they have just found the Dave Matthews Band in 2023, 2024, or if they found them in 1991. Everyone's story of how they found the band is different. And so this week and every week, I bring to you a different fan of the Dave Matthews Band to share in their journey of how they found the music. So this week, I want to introduce to you Breezy. Breezy, thank you so much for being on the show. Can you tell us who you are, and where you first heard of the Dave Matthews Band?
So I'm Breezy Dobkowski, Charleston, South Carolina. About 30 plus shows in. First time I heard Dave when it became significant is actually different than what you asked, is Crash, the song. Way back in the day, my thing is how the lyrics change. So Crash was, no, good Lord, 2003, 4, and a song that I was listening to religiously because I loved it. And then my son got into a car accident when he was 6 years old and airlifted it, and I couldn't listen to the song for
Oh my
years.
gosh.
And then now it's like he's 26 years old. So it is one of those things that of how the lyrics change for you. And that was what I wrote to you about how things change and how it makes everything, if it's been a part of your life, whether new or not, how the lyrics change and what they mean differently to you at different points in your life. Now, when I hear Crash, it's a huge celebration. But for years, I couldn't listen to that song. But
so I definitely want to tap into that a little bit because that's how you and I connected. Was I just simply posted a Facebook thing saying, hey, if this band or its lyrics have changed your life, let me know. And so that's definitely how you and I connected. So kind of tell us, like, where was it that you heard them for the first time, and what was it that made you kind of tune into their music? What was it about them?
It was just, first of all, just the difference. I grew up with a brother who was a self-taught musician. So when they kind of came on the scene, way back in the day, it was just, I don't know who gave me the first CD, but I think it might have been my brother. I have no idea. It just, the differenceness of the tone and everything that was going on. And I just fell in love with Under the Table and Dreaming. Like, I played it. It was nonstop in my car. All of it. I just fell in love with all of it. When I had young children, I just was like, they just resonated. All the lyrics always resonated.
Right.
And it's just a different sound, and I've always enjoyed that. And now, so many years later, you kind of get it more, because then when you learn the history and there's so many things, like, but when it first just hit you, it just hit you. And that was it. So I don't really remember. I think it might have been my brother, who's 4 years older than I.
Shout out to your brother. Thank you, brother.
I think, but I can't really place it. I just know it became immediately important in my life. That's it. You just hear something and you're just like, yep, that makes sense.
No, I mean, I think that's the story for a lot of people. Is in the 90s or even in the early 2000s, they were a band that did sound different than most of the music that was being put out at that time. And so, I think it just kind of caught our ears because of the different
intonation,
ways they were.
Like the intonation of the music. It was just the timing, the rhythm. It was so something that, like, when Nirvana and like all of that was coming out so much. And obviously I love that Red Hot Chili Peppers, but it was, but there was just something that catches your ear. and it just makes it. And I've been to a Grateful Dead concert when I was 17, but it was different than that kind of jam band. It was
Yeah.
just something that was just, what is this?
Right, right. Because it is the music and even maybe like the aesthetic of the band at the time that kind of
Yeah,
hooks you. But then your ears start to really kind of digest in your brain like what it is that they're saying. And while they do have like a lot of whimsical, fun songs, for the most part, I think that their songs, as far as the lyrics go, can be really intensely deep if you deep dive into those lyrics. And so, you talked about Crash, but, fast forward to now, and,
yeah.
obviously we've had this band for 33 years. Not all of us have been into them for 33 years, but, what does your fanship look like now? And I know that, one of the things that hooked me to you in wanting to hear your story is that you had a significant experience at the Gorge, which I think you said was your very first time to go. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I made it a bucket list, and I was just like, I'm doing this, and I did it, and I, from what I understand from what other people say, it was an exceptional experience at the Gorge of 2023.
Uh-huh.
I can't imagine it being any different because I don't have a first, but apparently, I mean, the very first notes that happened, I wrote something else about that. The very first notes, and like I said, I don't partake in extra, I don't do regular, like any kind of anything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I literally stood there and I said, I literally stood in that space saying, what is going on? This is, and I'd watched documentaries. Watched a lot of musical, like musicians love that area. And I've been to an amphitheater, but man-made, but I had never been to that kind of natural setting before.
Yeah.
And the very first note, I looked at a friend of mine standing next to me. I said, even though I traveled solo, a friend of mine lived in Seattle and he went with me. And I just looked at him and he was not a Dave Matthews fan at all. He didn't even know a song from them
Wow.
hardly. And I looked at him and I was like, and he weirdly, the weird experience I wrote about that as well is, even though he didn't know the song or the catalog or anything, he knew the songs by the end of every song during that trip. Like it was magical. It was
Wow.
life changing. I just looked at him. I was like, "What is going on?" Because the very first notes in at the Gorge were, when people say it's life changing. I was like, "Oh, come on, it can't be that much." And then all of it, you get 3 nights of what happened there. I was just like, this can't be the same band I see in Charleston, South Carolina, or Raleigh, or Charlotte, or Savannah, or Greenville. It was completely life changing. And it's made me kind of that fan that everybody else is now. After so many years, I'm like, I will chase that for the rest, like until they stop or I stop.
Right, because it's a feeling. They give us a feeling, right? And
Yeah.
they have their music and the lyrics, and honestly, the community around the band have the ability to change lives. I mean, they are
Yeah.
doing it every day, and I've collected the stories. So, I know that you along with a lot of us, I think that anxiety, depression, I think that
Yeah.
first of all, I want to say that those things are very common,
Yeah.
but the way that they are manifested in each person is very different, right? Like we all respond to it differently. We all have different things that it does to us, whether that's negative or positive. And so, I know that going into the Gorge, you before that you had just written some words,
Yes.
and I know that you spent a lot of time in the car listening to the music. So let's talk about
Yeah.
that. And I definitely want for you to share kind of your voyage in
Yeah.
words, because I know that you had kind of some pre-written words and
Yeah.
then post-written after the Gorge. So let's talk about kind of how they've changed your thought process and what how you put that into words.
So whether if you'd like me to read the post or, but before, like I never understood, and I'm educated in post-traumatic stress disorder, things like that. I started to notice it, Charleston 2 years ago, when it's the AB. I always call it. She said it's like the war cry, and he's been singing that a lot on tour.
Oh
Where it
yeah.
changed with me, that is one that I didn't realize how much anxiety that I was sitting in by myself in my car for a few years.
Mhm.
And you think that you're being still and just listening to music because you enjoy the music, and you think, oh, okay, like I'm okay because I'm just like decompressing or whatever. But what
Yeah.
it was really was, now that I've learned, were silent anxiety attacks. um, I was having when you're frozen and you're listening to your favorite band, which is Dave Matthews for me. And you don't realize that it's they're not freezing you. It's just you don't know how to do your emotions. So if you're dealing with depression or anxiety or post-traumatic stress disorder, when you freeze and you think you're having these concert sessions in your car and you think, oh, I'm just decompressing, what I've learned is I wasn't. I was actually having anxiety attacks.
Wow.
So what I've learned about myself was, even though the lyrics mean and shift, I wasn't really understanding what it was meaning to my life other than just being frozen,
Yeah.
whether it be from whoever is out there, depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, just your life in general.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you freeze, I did not know. I just thought I was being calm. I wasn't. I was actually having massive anxiety attacks by freezing. And Dave
Wow.
Matthews was there for me. The lyrics of this, that, all of it. And some of them may be driving a little bit more of the anxiety, maybe not, maybe making me cry, maybe doing this, but I was having massive anxiety attacks that I wasn't recognizing
Wow.
until when I went to the gorge. And having had a lot of separation from and understanding a little bit more about depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, from a very specific thing, I didn't know what I thought I was doing was enjoying my time in my car, which I was still enjoying the music 90%. I didn't
Yeah.
realize those moments were actually wailing, silent anxiety attacks.
Wow.
And when I went to the gorge, I did a lot of work before I wrote the post to you. I, had some separation from it all and started to work through when I was just like, oh, wait, this isn't just me just enjoying music. This is me actually getting through anxiety with music, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No, it totally
So
does.
when I went to the gorge, it was absolutely life changing for me. Um, it was a release. It was something that is spiritual. And I'm not a religious person, but I'm very spiritual. But
Yes.
that is what I wrote to you about, is just, I had no idea to that point how much I've enjoyed the band, but it's been like the soundtrack of a lot of beautiful lyrics, beautiful drum beats, so many good things and so many good memories, but it's shifted so many times in my life that I
Yes.
didn't realize I was using it as a crutch to get me through those massive silent anxiety attacks, because it was a comfort.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Rich from the Eddie Casino Band out in Las Vegas. We're really excited to get this journey going, celebrating our music, our original music, on all platforms. We just released our first single over Labor Day weekend called Eddie Casino. If you're looking for new music, look out for our next single coming out to Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Apple Music. These guys in the band are really excited to get started playing music for you all. If you like Tom Petty, Zach Brown, Jason Mraz, Dave Matthews Band, Rob Thomas, Jimmy Buffett, Pink Floyd, Stapleton, Bare Naked Ladies, Goose, Billy Strings, Sting and the Police, a ton of influences that we bring to the table. Hope you enjoy our music and look forward to seeing you soon live on stage.
So, what was it, that kind of led you? So, once you identify that you are having these massive panic attacks, and that's how it's manifested in you, is to be still and quiet while you're listening to the music. How did you recognize, like, how did you figure that out? And then what set you free from that at the gorge?
What made me recognize it is, weirdly, I can't even remember the article I read. Is something probably music, whatever. But it was just when you sit still and you're that calm and you're that frozen. That everybody thinks an anxiety attack is the heartbeat, the things that you kind of read a lot online or wherever you get your information from. Um, I'm actually kind of educated in this stuff. I had no idea like the frozen state was an anxiety attack. And
Wow.
when I don't know when it clicked for me that that's what I was doing. So I started to realize, and it was right before like sometime 2022, post COVID, that I
Mhm.
realized I was doing this where I'm coaching everybody else through theirs. I didn't realize I was doing it myself, but in a
Yeah.
very super quiet way. And I'm thinking, oh, if I just listen to music, I'll be fine.
Right.
And truth, I mean, it will heal a lot of things. But that's when I said, okay, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I know that I have to shift my thought process because
Yeah.
these are anxiety attacks. And it's the sitting so still. And I just decided I don't know. I just woke up and said, I'm going to get to the gorge. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to just do, this, Southeastern circuit that happens. I'm going to do one thing that I said I'm going to do. I'm afraid to fly. I'm no longer afraid to fly.
Look
I
at
flew
you
across. Yeah,
conquering
I'm like,
your fear.
I was terrified to fly. And I was just like, no, this is how you get there. This is what you
Yeah.
do because you have to
Yeah.
break this cycle.
Yeah.
And at the gorge, I don't know, just getting there it was honestly one of,
That's a whole different story, right? That's
yeah,
just
like,
getting there.
yeah, like, I mean, I just decided it and I was just like, I'm doing this. And honestly, the plane ride out was one of the most terrifying ones. I can, like, there's a
Oh,
picture of it was literally people being like, the captain said from Charleston straight to Seattle, it's going to be a rough ride the last hour. And she wasn't kidding. It
oh,
was, and I actually literally said to myself, just don't let the plane go down. Just like let it go down when I come back from my bucket list. Like my kids are going to be so mad at me if like we go down before. It was a bad one. Like I'm not
oh
exaggerating. It was
my God,
like,
I hate that
oh,
for
it was no. But the weird thing is I had a release. I was
you. Yeah.
like, I have no control over this anymore.
Yeah. It's so hard to let go. It's
Yeah.
so hard to let go.
I just let go of anxiety. Like I'm not afraid to fly. I'm flying next week. Like when I got to the gorge, it was just a community. And I went to the Grateful Dead when I was 17. I drove my friends there. I was not a deadhead. I just was like, yeah, I'll drive us, whatever. Chicago in 91. Um, I was, but I remember feeling the sense of community when I walked into the parking lot. And I didn't understand it because I wasn't a fan of their music.
Uh-huh.
My friends became fans and I was just like, sure, I'll drive,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And when I walked into the gorge, I've been to many shows. I just, it's just walking on the grounds and just everybody comes there for one reason and everybody's kind.
Yeah.
And I lived my life with kindness and I had a hard time doing that. And it was just a release of, you know what, the anxiety is, I mean, we all have anxiety still, but it was a realization that everything that I thought I was doing with the band, with them being my background, my soundtrack to my life, was such like a part of my getting through. And when I went to the gorge, it was about joy.
Yeah.
And I went to Savannah and Greenville after that. I just, everything changed of understanding the lyrics differently, knowing that it doesn't have to be so rooted in that.
Yeah.
And they were there for me during that time. But it was just when I went to the gorge, it was just life changing. And
Yeah.
I read about it. People posted about it when I was doing my research to get out there. I was like, oh, BS. Like, we're all grown ups. No, it's true.
Yeah.
It's
It is true.
true. So
It's so true. It's
it's so like
it's wild.
it's everybody coming in. You know, you got some people in the crowd that's not that amazing. Like
Of course.
Honestly, Charleston's not my favorite place to watch them. It didn't make me that sad that they skipped it this year. Um, because it's a lot of people taking selfies and doing their thing and whatever. Like the true fans, like we went to the gorge and it is the true fans. Like it is literally moving miles and doing schedules. And mine was a little
Yeah.
easy, but I mean, this year I'm going to camp because I don't want to miss any minute of anybody who's still there for the same reason we're all there for.
Exactly.
What's
That,
next? Yeah.
yeah. That's one thing that is true about the gorge is there's not a lot of people there that don't want to be there. And the reason why we
Right.
know that is because it is such a voyage to get there, right? Like you don't just accidentally go to the gorge. Like it's very like you have to plan it. It has to be, it has
And
to be like a very scheduled thing.
I came back smiling so much, and like not that it released me from some anxiety, but I realized in that moment when I was there how much that band has meant and gotten me through so many things. The lyrics, how they do shift, how they are like I got Samurai Cop in Greenville when I'm about ready to be a grandmother, and I was like that became on my
Oh,
radar, and I was like there was a man next to me because I was in pit, and he like not because we all exchanged, "What's your chase? What's your chase?" That is
right.
like that's the fan basis. What's your chase? What do you want?
Yes.
Like I can't remember. I think it was night two, and it was "Say Goodbye." They teased with it. I think night two in that Gorge 2023. I could be wrong. I'm almost positive. And the woman behind me lost her mind and started crying. And I was like, "Wow, I know this is so special." And I was so happy for her. And they kind of teased with it, and they left. They left it. And
Oh,
so like I watched people when I did the fall tour, like just watching the fans, like we exchanged. I was like, oh joy, I'm gonna be a grandmother in April, like my first. And that has just changed everything. I found out I was gonna be a grandmother when I was at the gorge as well.
oh
So
my God. What a
yeah,
great
so
news to find out. And
yeah,
congratulations.
yeah. So I was literally like I can't wait. And I was like weirdly distracted. And the man next to me, whom I just met, and we had like a bunch of singles around, like people who had their chases, and he was like, "You're
Yeah.
getting it." And the next day, post on the Greenville site, like I got my chase because I'm chasing Dreaming Tree as well.
Oh,
And
wow.
he was like, somebody was like, I like another person in that group said, I watched you cry tears of joy. And that's the thing that, and the emotion, like you can't even help it. It's not like you're boohooing. It's just tears coming out of your face because
Yeah.
those songs mean so much to you.
It's true. It's like literally everyone's, whatever they're carrying at that moment.
Yeah.
It's a great place to just kind of drop it for a little bit, right? Like we may
Yeah.
pick it up again later because that's life, but for those moments, for those hours, or for those days, it is a place where you can just really kind of drop it and you feel such a sense of
Community.
weightlessness, right? And community and freedom and love and acceptance. And so it's just it can be addictive, right? That feeling.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's what keeps people going back. It of course it's the music, but also the atmosphere around the music, the fans around the music. Like it's really just such a combination. And so, I know I asked
Mm-hmm.
you before we started recording. I'd love for you to share some of the words that you jotted down just to
Yeah.
kind of help our listeners understand where you were when you were thinking, about, where you were in your life and how you put that into words.
So
So,
did you want me to just read what I sent to
yeah,
you?
just,
Okay.
I say just read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was October after the gorge, and it was in Graham Rain in South Carolina. I'm a beach girl. Anyways, so I will just start. Charleston, South Carolina has been rain and gray for the last 2 days. This brings on car concert sessions after work. The noticeable shorter daylight drives the quiet time into my car. Some may call these sessions silent anxiety attacks because if you sit still and can't move, I've had these moments. Or do you sit still because you don't want to move? Who knows? I now call my time in the car listening to live Dave Matthews Band Reflection. Truthfully, before the gorge, they were silent anxiety attacks. Now, listening, taking my day in, smiling at the lyrics, crying to lyrics, thinking about my next tattoo inspired lyrics, drumming my heart out, trying to figure it out. My life, my kids' best interest, you and me as humans, little feet, little hands, little baby. So much to say. Before the gorge, and many years I sat in my car frozen, listening to Dave, all the songs in silent anxiety. When shit was hitting my fan, don't get me wrong, 90% of my Dave listening brings me joy, but we all know the songs can hit you differently at hard times in your life and shift through your life. Post Gorge, it was life changing. My car concert sessions, sitting listening to the band is different. I'm not frozen while I listen. In my car during my silent anxiety attacks, I'm jamming through them. The gorge was life changing. It was a life changing experience. I just wanted to share.
Mm.
That's it. So
I love that. I love that. And I think a lot of people will be able to identify that, not maybe in
I've
those
never
exact words.
actually written, I never read that out loud. So I
Well, I mean, I can't thank you enough for sharing that because it really does kind of paint a picture of where you were, but also it paints a very clear picture of the freedom that you were able to obtain, right? Just a
yeah.
little bit of freedom from that anxiety and how it changed you. And I don't, were you I mean, I don't think that there's any way you could have expected that, right? I mean, was it a surprise to you?
Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if it's going to be edited out. I kind of was like, I mean, I've been to a lot of concerts, not just Dave, but a lot. I was just like, this is a bucket list. I'm going to do it because I set my goals after having,
Yeah.
a rough couple of years. And I was like, I'm setting my goals. I'm back on track. I've always said I wanted to do it. I kind of, honestly, I'm not going to lie to you, Renee. I thought it was BS. I did. I was just like, there's no way. I actually was flying across country going 3 days of Dave in a row. I'm not a festival person. I
Right.
don't like, I literally was kind of like, what am I doing? I'm taking off work. Like, honestly, I had these weird doubts. I was just like,
Of
it
course.
can't be that. Come on, man. Like, even though I got on to like all of the, like, I didn't know the fan base, which that's what, and I had this thing of like, what am I doing? Like, come on. I mean, he
Right.
always visits the Southeast. What are you doing? What are you doing? And I had these doubts because I was afraid to fly, all this stuff. It was immediately life changing. I can't explain it other than I had no idea that getting on the grounds, how beautiful it is, knowing it's naturally made. I was just, everybody says they cry when they go over the crest and they see it. I didn't. I was in awe of it. I was kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, I wasn't ready for the sound, the way that the musical notes. And I wrote something else on something like right afterwards, going like, this is not BS. Like, this is not to say Dave Matthews, I love, absolute fan, but I was like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this? Like, what am
Of
I
course.
doing?
Of
And
course. It
then
sounds crazy
it
to
sounds
drag,
crazy. And
it
I was
sounds
like,
crazy.
and I literally was like, but I said I'm going to do it, so I'm going to do it. And when it just happened, I was just like, nobody is lying about this. This is crazy. You don't have to be on drugs. You don't have to be this. You don't have to be coming. Like, it is one of the most magical places I've ever been to.
Yeah.
And it is, if that doesn't change you or soften your heart or make you kinder, I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
I don't really actually want to know who you are. But I literally, since then, I'm just like, I will do every show so like solo unless you're going to be on board. Like, I went to Savannah and Greenville, like met with people beforehand. I did not realize the fan base until you go there. And then you
Yeah.
just realize that kindness exists so many places.
Yes, yes. I mean, you're speaking my language, and
Yeah.
obviously, I enough to the point where I created a podcast simply just to talk about the fans around this band because it's it is noteworthy to talk about the people that are following this band and the vibes that they're able to, just kind of put out into the world. And people are picking up on it, right? Like, what a
Right.
time to receive kindness. What a time to receive unsolicited love and just, complete acceptance for,
And I
for whoever and whatever and wherever you are.
and I have been that person my whole life. Like, I have never sought out to hurt any, like, I just can't even imagine trying to hurt somebody. Of course, we've all hurt people in
Of
our
course.
past, but like,
Of course.
I literally live my life of going, this is kindness. And until you actually realize what goes on with a fan base, like, you don't understand how kind, like, they may go out into their regular lives and not be so amazing after the gorge or
Sure.
whatever. I don't
Of course,
know.
we all
We
have our
all have our
moments.
moments, but
Yeah.
it only solidified why I love this band, because it really does, like, everything really does, whether it be, you know, Don't Drink the Water is written from the antagonistic point of view, but it also comes from the idea of how do we not hurt people?
Right.
What do we do? Like, it's one of those things of the band and how many 30 years plus, like besides a couple of little things, they all live their life with integrity and kindness and great music. And it's just, if that's not something to follow, then what else are you doing? I mean,
Exactly.
I don't even know. Like, I always say to people who, you get those frowns when you're like, I'm a big Dave. I mean, I have a tattoo. I mean, a lot of us do.
Yeah, me too.
But like, it's when you say that, you almost feel like this, like, huh? But like, I always say to people when they're like, "Oh, you like Dave?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do actually. I have no shame in that." But it's like, if anybody, I was like, you don't even have to like the music, but if you like Bob Dylan is a great poet. I don't like his music. Not gonna lie to you, don't like Bob Dylan songs. But if you read the lyrics, that's everything.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I just say to people who are kind of naysayers, I'm just saying, if you haven't seen him live, try it. Because I mean, I've been turned on by live music that I never thought I'd like by going to a concert. I said, but if you're somebody who cares about words, listen to, like, read the words.
Right. They'll speak for themselves. And I have met people time and time again who are, when they find themselves with someone that's never been exposed to the band, because obviously not everyone has met the band or heard of the band and things like that. And so the way that I hear people introduce the band to other people is through the lyrics, right? Because they know that uh, because that will get to you, right? Like, look what they're saying. And I think that their music stays so relevant, whether you're in 1991, 2005, whatever year you're in. They were producing music that was just relevant for the time, but also relevant for the future, right? Like, it's
Right.
timeless music that really, it's changing lives, it's saving lives, and look what it's done for you. I mean,
Yeah.
wow.
But don't you think it's
Wow.
becoming more relevant now? I think there are more Dave fans now more than ever because they keep on being relevant. They keep on putting out new, and like all the naysayers about like last album, it's like, no, how they rock it out live every single time. They change it every time. They keep you interested, but they're not doing it to manipulate you. They're doing it
No.
because they want to inspire still.
Right.
And that is it's not just, some studio album, and I like, there's so many great artists out there, but like, don't just put up the same performance every night.
Yeah.
And it's not to catch us. It's not to make them more money. They still are very modest in their earnings. It's
Right.
just literally because they're making it, they found a great group of guys who still get along, but also every single time it's a different tone, it's a different beat, it's a little something. And what I loved about going to the Gorge this year is with somebody who was a newbie, I was just like, it was like hearing their songs for the first time because they changed it every
Yeah.
single time. And it was just
Yeah.
like, wait, I've heard this song, so many times. And now made me revisit their albums. Like, I'm now buying their albums because I was like, if you listen to the production of that, there's so many intricate things. Like Ihi, like, I just noticed that song again, and their studio on that is gorgeously
It's
produced.
amazing.
It's so good. So it's the things that how it changes and how your life changes with it, and they always seem to evolve. If you're a fan and you pay attention, it could be not necessarily life saving. I was never that way. It was just anxiety and like how it changes and how you can have one song mean something in your 20s and now I'm turning 50 in March. Like, it is literally like how they've kept it so intricate that the lyrics resonate all the time if you pay attention.
Yeah.
And how Carter is still doing what he does at his
How
age.
in the
It's
hell is he doing
crazy.
it? How
Crazy.
is
It
he
makes
doing it?
right. So like, it's just like, and everybody, like, the new tour just came out and people are like, oh, it's shorter. I mean, I'm 65. I can't even imagine. He's arguably one of the best drummers in the world, and
Right.
he still keeps the pace.
It's amazing that they're still even touring, right? So I'm just thrilled to death that they release tour dates because
Right?
at some point that's going to stop. And so I feel like as long as they're willing and able to do it, we have got to capture these moments because it will be over one day. It
Right.
will be over.
What's up, everybody? This is David with the Dave Matthews Tribute Band. We're a nationally touring tribute to DMB, playing shows all over the country and beyond. Our goal is to bring you back to the classic sound that you fell in love with in the 90s and the 2000s, featuring a violin, saxophone, and maybe some keyboards sprinkled in as well. You can find out information about all of our tours and shows by visiting thedmtb.com. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram and other socials by searching the Dave Matthews Tribute Band or the DMTB. Hope to see you on the road and enjoy the Space Between podcast.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about it, but
I never
yeah.
do.
But it's the truth. Like, there's one day, and it will be one of those days. Like, I have a very good friend of mine who's a huge Dave fan in town as well, and I was just like, if ever I hear like the news, I like. I can't even Prince when he passed. That was a big one.
Oh,
When something happened, I don't even. I'm just gonna like I'm gonna have to leave work. I gotta go.
I totally understand. I say often, and not in a joking tone,
Yeah.
that there will need to be Dave Matthews Band support groups, like legitimately for the people that have invested so much time and so much of their emotion into the band. When it's no longer, what do we do with those feelings? Yeah, we always have the music, but there will be a hole in our lives, and what do we do with that time? What do we do with that space, right? It's
Right.
the space between. Oh yeah,
Yep.
look,
Ooh, wait a
oh, look what
whoa.
I did there.
Look what you just did.
Hey,
It's
every once in a while
crazy.
I have a smart thought.
Yeah, we're all pretty witty there. That is a good way to wrap that up.
Thank you.
Oh, good Lord.
Well,
So you're gonna, where are you touring?
I'm gonna, it's all penciled in, and you never really know what's gonna happen. But I'm going to plan to be at the opener in Florida. I've never been before to see them in
Tampa?
Florida. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. I put in for that. We'll see. And it's only
yeah,
yeah, and then
we'll see.
I put in for Jacksonville 2 nights. We'll see.
Oh, I know. If you end up going there, let me know. I've got some really good friends that will be having some parties and stuff, and some family meetups and stuff. So I'll definitely get you connected. But I'm just so excited to see them in general. There's never a disappointing tour to me. I'm just thrilled that they're on the road. I'm thrilled that I get to see them. I'm thrilled that I get to
Yeah.
travel to see all of these people that I've built relationships with. And I mean, right now, I'm just in cloud nine, and I'm just kind of like what you said earlier. I'm not thinking about the future. I'm thinking about, hey, because what does he say? The future is no place.
Future is no place to put your better days.
Yes,
Yes.
that. So exactly, right? Like, we can't concentrate on too much about the future, but we can think about the past, and we can think about the present. And it sounds like you have found yourself in a really great space for 2024 because of 2023, right? Like, each year we become better people. And a lot of that has to do with the way we've been able to kind of take care of our mental health, and music is one of those tools that help people.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it really did help you. And I'm so thankful that you were willing to share this, because I don't think that you have shared in this alone. I think that this is, especially going out of COVID, and so many people, there's so many people going through some really intense things that, I think that your story is going to help other people to realize that, what is continuing to be done through this music, through this fan base, and that their story is not crazy, right? Like, this music heals, music saves, and I will forever preach that.
Like, and now I mean, I still have the anxiety attacks, but it's different now. It
Yeah.
changed. It
Yeah.
is, instead of sometimes you dwell on lyrics, then it becomes uplifting if you can actually hear them differently.
Yeah.
Um,
It does.
and and the gorge was life changing for me in the way of, I've never felt that much joy. Like, and I'm actually a really joyous person. I mean, I had a really rough few years where
Yeah.
it's extenuating circumstances, but like, it just made me realize that's what life's about. It is the humanity. It is bringing people together, and that's all the band really does. I mean, Dave's more vocal, of course, about it, but it's
Sure.
it's bringing it all together and then realizing every single person in that 28,000 crowd is,
Yeah.
they're hearing it and seeing it and crying in different ways, enjoying and dancing and whatever they do. Like, it's just all love.
It
And
is.
that is
All love.
one of the most life-changing experience I've ever had in my life. Was just like, whoa.
Wow.
It was phenomenal. And it doesn't have to happen in the gorge. It can happen at any concert. It can happen in
It
your
really can.
car. And it can
Yeah.
happen in your car.
That's right.
So
That's right. And I know that it has for people. It has for me, those moments where we're driving down the road and, whatever comes on and you weren't prepared for it. But it's like it fell in your lap at the right time. And those were the
yeah.
words you needed to hear at that exact moment to kind of break through whatever, break free. I'm going to see how many lyrics and titles I can like spill out in this podcast, but
Right.
to break free, right? Like there are moments that we find ourselves in the middle of a song and we go, holy shit, I've heard this song 1,000 times, 100
And then,
times, whatever, and
or
it never has done what it just did.
oh yeah. I mean, she said, I would call it, she said, I don't call it American. Like, I don't call it that intro. It's like, she said, like, it's a war cry. I
Yeah.
read an article where it came from, and I can't remember. I wish I noted it. It was about a Syrian refugee, a woman who he met, and she said 1,000 times. She said, 100 times I said this was going to happen. That's where that song comes from.
Mm.
And I can't quote it, so you can't quote me on that. But when everybody's like, it's so, no, it's a war cry. And
Yeah.
when he sings it, it's a war cry. It's because she said it was happen 100 times, 1,000 times, and it was in a Syrian refugee camp.
Wow.
And that's the thing that strikes me about that. And I used to go down rabbit holes of like looking up like stuff in the springtime of Dave Matthews stuff. And I wish I could quote that. And I don't know if he would ever, because he's always very ambiguous about what does it mean to you now.
Yes.
But I know I read that. And I was like, it's a war cry of whatever you're going through. Like, so when everybody came on so popular on tour this year, because it's so passionate, it's so beautiful, but
Yeah.
like that song has changed for me over years. Like for me in my abusive relationship, I used to listen to it and it made me so sad because I'd be like, oh, I said it 100 times, never again. I said it 1,000 times, never again. And then when I heard it in Charleston 2 years ago, I cried because I realized I was released from it.
Yes.
And I now say, she said 100 times, never again.
Yes.
So like, there's so many passionate things about that. And yeah, so like, it's one of those things, like, that's how the lyrics change and that's how they can uplift you and sometimes bring you down or like get you in a place where you're just like, fuck, excuse my language, fuck, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
But then it's also could be very empowering of, fuck, what am I going to do? What am I going to
No,
do about this
I think
feeling?
those what the fuck moments are important sometimes,
Yeah.
right? Maybe a time to just be like, okay, wait a second. You need to shake things up. You need to do things differently, right? Like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different outcomes. And so sometimes we have to have those oh fuck moments so that we can break free from the insanity, right? Like because we put ourselves in that often without even knowing it, right?
And you're just like, wait, what? And then sometimes all it takes is a song.
Yeah,
So
that's what it takes sometimes. And what a powerful thing and what a free thing, right? Like music is something that is accessible for most people, I would like to say, for free. And so what a tool, what a powerful tool. And I'm just so thankful that we've all found it. And I'm thankful that you have found it. And I'm just so thankful that you were willing to come on the show this week and share your thoughts.
Thanks for your time with me.
Yes, I love your story so so much. And again, this is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, is for stories just like yours, because your life deserves, your experience with this band deserves to be documented, because it changed you. It literally changed the
It
trajectory of
did.
your life. And
It
that is
did.
a very important story in your timeline of your life. And so I'm just so thankful. I'm so thankful. And so we'll definitely have to catch up in the
Yes.
next year or so and just see how this story has continued, because of course we have a lot ahead of us when it comes to this band. And so we're going to keep writing this smooth rider. Hey, there's another one, for as long as we can, right?
You're phenomenal.
Look at me. Look at me
Look at
pulling
you.
all this out.
Look at you, girl. Oh
Well,
my gosh.
Breezy, I cannot say thank you enough for spending some of your time with us tonight. If you guys are listening to and you're like, you know what? How does she get her guest on the show? Honestly, it's just a quick message to me, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, email me, which is just simply kissonthelips.meyer@gmail.com. You can email me and say, hey, I'd love to share my journey with the Dave Matthews Band. And it really is just that easy. So definitely message me. And if you guys want to see what is upcoming, be sure to check us out on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of the things where we have a post that says, who's coming up when. And we have a lot of really cool guests that are coming up. I mean, every week it's an amazing story. It's a life-changing story. And so, Breezy, again, thank you so much
Yes.
for being on the show. I really
It's
appreciate
my
it.
pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Oh my God, yes. And guys, into the meantime, I send all of you peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band. Until the next time, guys, peace out.